very hearty good evening to each and everyone present here today. Honorable dignitaries, students, welcome you all to the panel discussion conducted by Kerala State Legal Services Authority in association with Government Law College Ernakulam and LJRF Center for Women and Children on the topic Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace, Prevention, Prohibition and Redressal Act 2013. Sexual harassment at workplace is a widespread problem in the nation, or whether a developed nation or a developing nation or an underdeveloped nation. Atrocities against women are common everywhere. It is a universal problem giving negative impact on both men and women, but more with women in particular. How much ever one try to protect, prohibit, and prevent such atrocities always takes place. Women, though they have proved themselves very potential, equally potential as men, they are still considered as most vulnerable section in the society. It's high time that we need to discuss on this social menace as the female workforce is increasing day by day. Though we have many legislatures empowering women, it is still under question that what percentage of these laws are implemented effectively. Sexual harassment is not a joke. It's a crime. Only 10% of the total sexual harassment in workplaces are reported, whereas the remaining 90% are being unresolved. There are also various myths relating to the sexual harassment in workplaces. Is it a solution that we need for this menace or a remedy? It is indeed the need of the hour to discuss on this topic as it relates to each and every one of us here, including myself, who is or will be a part of the working force very soon. So, we request all of your valuable participation in this panel discussion to make this event a meaningful one. Before moving on to our today's panel discussion, I request all the participants to make sure that your audios are muted and none of you get engaged in any kind of presentations. And it is to the attention of the participants that to get your participation certificate, you have to participate in the whole of the sessions. You're not supposed to live in between. So, a smile is a universal welcome. With a happy heart, I invite Dr. Gifty Ummen, Associate Professor, Government Law College, Ernakulam, to officially welcome us all to our today's panel discussion. I welcome you, ma'am.
Blessings of the Almighty, Kerala State Legal Services Authority, KeLSE, in association with Government Law College, Ernakulam, with the great effort put in by LJRF, Center for Women and Children, we come forth with this panel discussion on sexual harassment of women at workforce. I thank you for inviting me over for this welcome address. Now, as the name for the panel discussion suggests, we are dealing with sexual harassment of women at workplace according to the Act of 2013. There is a lot of allegations that just like in the Domestic Violence Act, this act is also having a negative effect. This all comes into the discussion that we today enter into. Now, as we deal with this topic, we know that sexual harassment at workplace, why it occupies a very important position now is because first, it deals with the vulnerability of women. How do the women force come forth and bring in and addresser of their problems? Secondly, we have is the competition. Because today we have competition of men and women in the workforce. And what happens is this affects the gender index of an industry and overall the gender index of a country in the international perspective. Today, when we have industries like Saint-Gobain and Hitachi and many other industries which are keeping up with the gender index, not because of anything else, but to get in market. We need to come up to that level. So therefore, it no more holds importance just to have a parity at work. It now holds importance to get market also. So therefore, if you have to talk about the industrial revolutions which had taken place last century, that has come to a different level now. It is now human rights perspective. So this is where the importance of sexual harassment at workplace comes in today. So now we just not talk about the perspective about the constitutional right. It comes to the human rights perspective at the international level. So therefore, when an industry or a government sector or in the university or a college talks about the gender parameters, it has to talk about in terms of international perspective. So all these matters, along with the vulnerability of the women, all these have to be discussed at this level. That is why today, with the progressive mind, we have brought in this particular subject, wherein the human rights of the women are protected. At the same time, they're giving a decision-making authority and policy-making authority along with the competition which the industry brings forth. Now, coming to my duty, I've been asked to welcome the dignitaries on the dais, and I welcome first and foremost our Honorable Justice Shobha Annamma Eapan ma'am, Judge High Court of Kerala, who is there with us. Welcome, ma'am. Secondly, I welcome Nisar Ahmed KT, sir, the District Judge and Honorable Member of KeLSE. Welcome, sir. And then I call our principal, Dr. Bindu M. Nambiar, who is one of the coordinators to the program, along with LJRF and KeLSE. I cannot but say more about Nisar Ahmed, sir, because he is in the forefront dealing with vulnerability regarding the human rights area, regarding women and children. And so therefore, he is a great pillar along with LJRF and Government Law College to bring in this program. I really need to thank you, sir, for that. Then I call for Advocate Indra Ravindran, ma'am, member, Kerala Women's Commission. Welcome, ma'am. Yes. And I welcome Advocate Palikal. Yes, ma'am. I welcome Advocate Palikal, SK, member, Bar Council of Kerala. Sir, are you there? Yes. Okay. I call upon, I welcome Advocate Rose Mariam Sibi, who is the convener of LJRF for Center for Women and Children. I welcome each and every participant, and I welcome all the people, all the participants, everyone, the moderator, all those involved in this panel discussion. I welcome each one. Thank you.
That was indeed a heartwarming welcome. To deliver the presidential address, we have with us respected principal of Government Law College Ernakulam, Dr. Bindu M. Nambiar. With utmost respect, I invite you, ma'am.
Justice Shobha Eapan, District Judge Nisar Ahmed, Advocate Indira Ravindran, Advocate Pramod, Safi Mohan, Dr. Gifty Oman, Advocate Rose Mariam Sibi, other dignitaries, colleagues, friends, and my dear students. A very warm good evening to one and all. We are honored to conduct this panel discussion on sexual harassment of women at workplace in association with Kerala State Legal Services Authority and LJRF, Center for Women and Children. First of all, let me congratulate each and every one of you who are behind the screen, who are conducting this panel discussion. It is a very apt subject because we all know that even though we don't want to say aloud that sexual harassment is still going on in our society, it is the global estimates from World Health Organization shows that about 1 in 3 women worldwide have experienced sexual violence in their lifetime. For too long, too many people have accepted sexual harassment as just a fact of life, something they just have to deal with in order to advance in their careers or to survive or to lead their life. This must change. Supreme Court has put forward a very good guidelines in Vishaka's case to prevent sexual harassment in the workplace. In tune with that, the Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace Prevention, Prohibition and Redressal Act of 2013 was made. Unfortunately, even now, too many women still face harassment. This is not simply a matter which affects only women. It affects the whole society. It is our responsibility to make the workplace, the whole society, free from sexual harassment. For that, law is not enough. Each individual should work for that. It should begin from every home. We should teach our children to treat everyone in respect and as equal members of the society. Parents should show them with their lives as role models. Awareness about this law should be made to everyone and make every woman bold enough to react, to respond. We should make a better work culture. Then only our country can progress. Let us have a good discussion and to find a viable way in which we can bring forth a good atmosphere to workplace and what we can do to achieve this objective. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your highly enlightening words. With deepest respect and honor, I now invite Honorable Justice Shobha Annamma Eapen, Judge, High Court of Kerala, for the inaugural address. It is indeed a privilege on my side to invite you, ma'am, a woman who has conquered great heights to represent the face of many other women behind to inaugurate this function. I wholeheartedly welcome you, ma'am, to deliver the inaugural address.
To be with all of you. Let's move on to the inaugural address. It is rightly said, while a murder destroys the physical frame of the victim, sexual harassment degrades and defiles the soul of a helpless woman. Sexual harassment of women is a global phenomenon, prevalent both in developed as well as in developing countries. Cutting across religion, culture, race, caste, class, and geographical boundaries, it has spread like virus in the society. It, being offensive to human dignity, human rights, and gender equality, has emerged as a fundamental crisis world over. It is a complex issue involving women, their perceptions and behavior, and the social norms of the society. Prior to Vishaga guidelines, there were no specific laws in the Indian Penal Code that could be evoked. It has been 25 years since the Honorable Supreme Court framed Vishaga guidelines. Nearly 15 years after the framing of Vishaga guidelines, Parliament passed the Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace Prevention, Prohibition and Redressal Act 2013. Banwari Devi, a social worker, I hope everyone has read the Banwari Devi case and all. Banwari Devi, a social worker associated with the government program, who attempted to stop a child marriage of 9-month-old infant girl, was socially and economically boycotted in her village. Her husband was beaten up and she was brutally gang raped by 5 men, which included the father of the child, whose marriage she attempted to stop. What followed was a long and arduous legal battle which still continues. The class action filed by certain social activists and NGOs led to the glorious Vishaga guidelines being framed by the Honorable Supreme Court. Banwari Devi had no direct role in this law. She was just the catalyst. Alongside taking up cudgels for Banwari Devi, the petition drew attention towards the societal aberration and sought judicial assistance in finding suitable methods for realization of the true concept of gender equality, and to prevent sexual harassment of working women in all workplaces and to fill the vacuum in existing legislation. Vishaga guidelines, as laid down by the Supreme Court, put the onus of a safe working environment on the employer. The main intention of these guidelines is to provide a platform for redressal and grievance mechanism against workplace sexual harassment. It was these guidelines that motivated the formation of the Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace Prevention, Prohibition and Redressal Act 2013, POSH. The Act is very important as it discusses the various instances of sexual harassment and how women can complain against this kind of behavior. The Act is grounded in the constitutional guarantee of the right to life and liberty, Article 21, right against discrimination, Article 14, and freedom to practice any trade or profession without hindrance, Article 19(1)(g). The introduction of POSH law is very important for all women in India as it is central to promotion of a women's right and safety. After Vishaga's case came in 2 important cases which strengthened the legal framework for workplace sexual harassment. In the Apparel Export Promotion Council versus A.K. Chopra 1999, Honorable Supreme Court upheld the dismissal of a superior officer of the Delhi-based Apparel Export Promotion Council for sexual harassment. The Apex Court enlarged the definition of sexual harassment and defined it as any unwelcome act, Later, in the Medha Kotwal LA and others versus Union of India and others 2013, the Supreme Court placed emphasis on states to follow the Vishaga guidelines and to ensure its effective implementation. Further, the court asserted that if the guidelines are not complied with, then the aggrieved persons or the victims could approach the high courts. While the Vishaga guidelines were confined to the traditional office setup, recognizing the fact that sexual harassment may not necessarily be limited to the primary place of employment, the POSH Act has introduced the concept of an extended workplace. As per the POSH Act, workplace includes any place visited by the employee arising out of or during the course of employment, including transportation provided by the employer for the purpose of commuting to and from the place of employment. POSH Act has also elaborated the complaint filing process, defined workplace, sexual harassment, etc., and also made it a penal offense by specifically prescribing punishment for a violation. India is rapidly advancing in its developmental goals, and more women are joining the workforce. The recognition of the right to protection against sexual harassment is an intrinsic component of the protection of the women's human rights. It is a step towards providing women independence, equality of opportunity, and the right to work with dignity. Sexual harassment at workplace is a social challenge that needs to be addressed. It is important to enhance the awareness of employers and employees on the existence of forms of sexual harassment at the workplace, preventive measures and legal framework on preventing and addressing sexual harassment. Dear students, being the next generation of our legal system, it is your duty to ensure that women get a better and safer work environment. Judiciary is the last resort of a common man. You are all proud aspirants of a judicial system, and society looks upon you as the torchbearers to ensure effective and proper implementation of legislation by imparting awareness and by educating the society of their rights and duties. Dissemination and awareness raising activities should be regularly conducted and evaluated in order to improve best practice on how to address sexual harassment at the workplace. Enhancing training courses on sexual harassment and providing documentation or a handbook on the prevention of sexual harassment at the workplace can help in combating it. With this, I conclude and I inaugurate today's panel discussion on sexual harassment of women at workplace. I may be excused for leaving early. I have to attend another meeting. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. That was indeed a inspiring and informational speech. Thank you so much for that. Up next, we have Sri Nisar Ahmad, KT, Honorable District Judge and Member Secretary, KeLSE, a renowned dignitary who solely stood as a pillar of support for the happening of this event, to deliver the keynote address. I welcome you, sir.
Honorable Justice Shobha Annamma Ippan, Judge High Court of Kerala, Dr. Bindu Nambiar, Principal Government Law College, Ernakulam, Advocate Indira Ravindran, Member, Women's Commission and former member of KeLSE, Dr. Gipti Umban, Associate Professor, Government Law College, Ernakulam, Sri Pramod, Advocate Pramod, Member Bar Council, Rose Mariam Sibi, panelists and my colleagues, Kaminish District Judge and John Varghese, Assistant Director, Judicial Academy, Advocate M.S. Tara, former member, Kerala Women's Commission, Dr. Taji GB, Assistant Professor, Government Law College, Trivandrum, Dr. J.H.K. Joseph, Criminologist, Kerala Police Academy, Moderator, S.S. Girishankar, Associate Professor, Government Law College, Ernakulam, Advocate Reshma, and we Varghese. Dear friends, a warm good evening. I'm not going to make a speech. Especially, I'm not so familiar with this particular topic. Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace Prevention of Provisional Redressal Act, commonly known as POSH Act. Apart from that, Honorable Justice Shobha Annamma Ippan has given a wonderful speech, exhaustively even covered the Supreme Court rulings on the topic. It is a fact that sexual harassment and sexual assault against women and children is going on in every place. It's a fact, we cannot deny it. As far as the sexual assault against children, now we are getting more and more reportings because of a special law that mandates compulsory reporting. Regarding the POSH Act also, there ought to have been such a provision according to me. It is not because there is no sexual harassment, this number of reporting cases is less. It's a fact that most of them, I may say even 90% of the women are not willing to report such sexual harassment. Whether it is sexual harassment, sexual assault, any type of sexual instances, we still feel that it's a stigma. And moreover, the society is seeing or going behind the victim and putting the not all trouble on. That is maybe the reason for non-reporting the cases. Nobody can deny, in every sphere, every workplace, there is still harassment and all types of these offenses are going on. So what we can do as a society, as members of the high class of the society. But I understand that we can disseminate the law by conducting this type of programs, making them aware of such laws and giving support if such an instance happens, giving support to report the matter to the parents as per the provisions of the POSH Act. Certainly this webinar, this panel discussion will give a start for a support, a dissemination of this act. I take this opportunity to express my deep gratitude and also to congratulate the LJRF and Government Local Ernakulam to take the initiative. And Kerala State Legal Service Authority is always ready to conduct any type of this type of programs in future also. I give all support, everything, and I also take this opportunity to express thanks to Honorable Justice Shobha Annama Ippen. Madam has readily agreed to inaugurate this program when I made this request. Once again, thank you all. Jai Hind.
Thank you so much, sir, for the encouraging words. To deliver the special address, we have Advocate Indira Ravindran, member, Kerala Women's Commission, who always stood up to protect the rights of women. I welcome you, ma'am.
Honorable Judge Nisar Ahmed, Secretary of KeLSE, Dr. Gifty Woman, Dr. Safi Mohan, Dr. Bindu Yamlambiya, panelists, moderator, and all other students of LJRF and other friends. I express my gratitude in inviting me to this very important session on discussing about the important topic about sexual harassment. Madam, our Honorable Justice Shobha Annama Ippen and Nisar Ahmed sir had deeply discussed about this matter in a good fashion. I'm not talking too much about this topic, but I have to say some words about Kerala Women's Commission, what has recently done in this, about this act, about its implementation, about formation of ICC, and all those aspects. Harassment towards women is not a new phenomenon. Even in time of industrialization, women working in factories and workplaces had to face sexual comments. Any act of sexual harassment at working place to a woman is not only a violation of her constitutional right, but it also violates her human right. It creates insecure working atmosphere and hostile working environment. It often affects her participation in work. It affects her economic empowerment adversely. It violates the fundamental right of gender equity and life with dignity under Article 14 and 21 of the Constitution. Vishaka guidelines came to action for protection of women at working place, followed by the enactment of Sexual Harassment Act in 2013. In 2013, the Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace Prevention, Prohibition, and Reprisal Act had been enacted to protect women working in both formal and informal sectors. This act clearly stipulates what constitutes sexual harassment and gives stipulation to employers as to how to provide safe and secure work atmosphere to women workers. Harassment at working place is internationally condemned as discrimination on sex and violation of human rights. More than 75 countries have enacted legislation against this. Sexual Harassment Act comes in any one or more of many unwelcome acts or behaviors, physical contact or advances, a demand or request for sexual favors, making sexually colored remarks, showing pornography, any other unwelcome physical, verbal or non-verbal conduct of a sexual nature. If the act is implemented effectively, it can contribute realization of gender equity of life and liberty. Today, all our workplaces are mandated by law to provide safe and secure working environment free from sexual harassment for all working women. Sexual harassment at workplace, as I had earlier suggested, is a social challenge. It needs to be addressed. It is highly necessary to enhance the awareness of employees and employers about the Act. Kerala Women's Commission had recently requested Women and Child Department to gather information as to whether in all departments the ICC has been formed, and if formed, whether it is working smoothly and promptly. But to our surprise, we are getting numerous reports that the ICC, though it is mandatory to be constituted, it is not at all formed in many departments. ICC is not working properly. Several firms have not complied with the rules. Failure to do so, though it attracts punishment and fine, the departments had been viewing it in a very silly manner. The ICC is vested with the powers of a civil court under CPC. Viewing the crime status of Kerala police, reporting of sexual harassment in 2019 is 435 cases. In 2020, it is 442. As regards for the 2022, the report is yet to come. It is seen that the ICC is set up in both government and public sectors, do not properly act on complaints of sexual harassment. Members of such committees are not aware of law and are afraid of taking any action. This is why only few people come forward to lodge complaints. So the Women's Commission has now, I take this opportunity to highlight the recommendations we propose about this Act and its formation of ICC. Bringing awareness of the Act to women shall be conducted. Women organizations and trade unions shall support so as to get wider coverage and reach. There are many women who do not know the types and forms of sexual harassment at workplace. They shall be educated by providing adequate books. Kerala Women's Commission has many leaflets and small books to give to the departments and the women workers. They are properly doing that. Many cases of harassments are not reported. Hence, gender sensitization programs shall be organized into the workforce in a periodic manner. A special cell shall be constituted, including psychologists, counselors, medical practitioners to give training periodically. The cases registered under IC shall be dispersed within the stipulated period. Now it is seen that the complaints received and incurred by IC are not properly dispersed. It is lying as such when they as they got in the as the manner they got it. Majority police officers are seen unaware about electronic portals for complaining against sexual harassment and about IC functions. They shall be given proper training and they shall be given proper information about this. These are the few lines that I have to express about the Act. We are often getting many complaints from many departments, and we have come across many complaints during the Women's Commission Adalats. The funny picture is that in the respondents panel, even there are women coming into that I have come across all these aspects, and these few lines I am placing before this forum. With these words, I conclude.